I'm not a lawyer, but Tay-K just got sentenced. And before Judge Boyd read the sentence, she reminded everyone that there would be no outbursts.
All right, so it's the court's understanding that there is a verdict. There will not be any outbursts in this courtroom. If there are outbursts in this courtroom, you're going to be allowed, you're going to be asked to leave by the deputy. If there was a statement or something you're going to give, you're not going to be allowed to give it because you're going to be asked to leave the courtroom. Does everyone understand?
Now, something interesting that I learned recently from attorney Stara, shout out to her, is you know how typically a jury determines guilt or innocence and then a judge determines the sentencing for the defendant? Well, in Texas, defendants can choose for a jury to determine their sentence instead of a judge. And that's what Tay-K chose. Now, for context, the jurors had a big range they could sentence him to. Here's a clip of his attorney talking about the range before sentencing.
The punishment range for first-degree murder in Texas is anywhere from 5 to 99 years or life in prison. And that's a huge range of time.
So that was the range, and the jurors decided on 80 years.
It states that punishment should be assessed at 80 years in the prison, and there's no fine. Does anyone wish to have the jury polled?
Once the jurors were excused, the judge had to decide if the 80 years would run concurrently or at the same time as the 55 years that he's already been sentenced to, or if this 80 years would be stacked or consecutive, meaning he would do the 55 years and then have to do the 80 years. And here's how Judge Boyd ruled.
Mr. McIntyre, I want you to know that I listened to all of the evidence in punishment and thought about whether or not your sentence should be stacked. I don't know where your mom is, don't know where your father is. I know that you had a rough childhood, and I do know that these offenses occurred when you were very young. And I understand the state of the law, what people consider an adult. I listened to the testimony of the expert that was brought by defense counsel. You've already been sentenced to murder in the other county, and then you have a murder here. And the sentence for 55 years, that's a stiff sentence. This 80-year sentence is a stiff sentence. And these are cases where you have to serve half your time, and that's day for day time. And I recognize that. Hopefully you will grow, but based upon his age, based upon the number of years that he has received out of Tarrant County and the number of years that he's received here, based upon his history and the lack of any type of good parenting. From what I can tell, his mother wasn't a good parent to him. His father wasn't a good parent to him. Child Protective Services was not good. And if you believe the testimony, I don't know why Child Protective Services would place children back with a father who put the children's mother in the hospital. Is there something else that needs to be done with our society? Yes. Is more money need for Child Protective Services and their workers? Yes. And I do realize that while this is a lot of time, and I tell people all the time, any time that you do in custody is a lot of time. But by that same token, you're still alive. And what the state has said is true. You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased. And you need to internalize that the complainant in this case is deceased and that his family is never going to see him again. So you're going to have to make changes. And you're going to have to remove people from your life who are not of benefit in the means of making you a better person. And I do understand that sometimes people will go to prison, they join gangs because you need protection, because you're there by yourself, you're young, but you're going to have to make better choices. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years in the prison, give him credit for any time served. There is a $0 fine. This will run concurrent with 1511547D.
So Judge Boyd decided that Tay-K's sentences would run at the same time. So while he's serving the time for the 55 years, he will also be serving the time on the 80-year sentence. But it also sounds like after he serves half the time, he could be up for parole. So in about 40 years.